Growing up, one of my favorite games to play with my friends was hide and seek. It's one of the first games I remember learning. Have you ever noticed how the game evolves? As a baby, it's called peekaboo. As a toddler, you hide out in the open and cover your eyes. Why? Because a toddler thinks if they can't see you, then you can't see them. Then you randomly play this game as a bored teenager, and it's intense. You find a ridiculously good hiding spot, and you stay hidden for an hour or two after people give up looking for you. And yeah, you win, right? Ironically, staying hidden isn't just something we do in teenage version of hide and seek. It's something that we do in life. The more serious situations become in our lives, the more we hide them, and we make sure that they stay hidden. Maybe it's something that you wish wasn't a part of your life. Maybe it's something that started small and innocent, but then escalated to a place where it was more difficult to keep hidden. This can happen in a lot of areas, but we're gonna look at one today. It's something that affects a lot of high schoolers in our community. In fact, we feel that it's too important to not talk about. I'm talking about self-harm. Is it me? Or did the room just get a little uncomfortable? I get that this isn't easy to talk about, but let's all just take a deep breath. Some of you just got super nervous because you're involved in self-harm yourself, and you're afraid that we're gonna pull the curtain back on you. If that's you, I want you to know that it's gonna be okay. We're for you, and nobody is gonna call you out or point you out, I promise. Some of you are intrigued because you have friends who struggle with this and you're hoping for some answers. You're in the right place. We're gonna do the best we can to get this conversation started. Now, some of you are annoyed because this isn't something that you struggle with and you don't even know anybody who does. But chances are good that you probably do know someone who struggles with it. They're just doing a really good job making sure it stays hidden. No matter which group you fall into, I wanna ask you to lean in because tonight is for everybody. Whether or not you struggle with self-harm personally, I think there are some questions we all have. And maybe the biggest one is this: what do we do about it? If you're someone who struggles with self-harm, you've probably asked yourself, what do I do? Where do I even start to make this better? If you know people who struggle, maybe you've wondered, what do I do? How do I help them? Do I tell someone, or does that make me a terrible friend? We'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's make sure that we're all on the same page about something. Self-harm takes on many forms. Burning, pinching, intentionally hitting or bruising yourself. These are all real ways that people hurt themselves. But today, we're gonna talk about the most common way: cutting. Most people have some sort of idea about what cutting is, but you may honestly wonder why people do it. Please understand something. If you're in this room today and you're a guy or a girl who cuts yourself, I want you to know that not everything I say today will apply to you. And I won't even pretend to know everything that you're feeling. My goal is not to generalize or minimize any of this. My goal is to hopefully provide some language to help us to understand ourselves better and to help people who don't cut get a little better idea of why this is such a big deal. When it comes to why people cut, the simplest way to put it is this one word: relief. People who cut are hurting so badly in their minds and in their emotions that they just want to stop feeling that kind of pain. So they transfer the pain from their heart to their body. The physical pain is a means to take their mind off of their emotional pain. Now, that's not why everybody starts, but eventually it can become addictive because it does temporarily provide a sense of relief. So if it provides a sense of relief, naturally it's triggered by experiences that are painful. Experiences like stress from school, family mess, broken heart, a fight with your friend, loneliness, failure, and basically anything that creates pain. You could say it this way: emotional pain plus physical pain equals relief from pain. But it doesn't stop there. Many people who cut feel ashamed by the cutting, so they hide. They pull away from friends and family, which leads to loneliness, and then that loneliness plus shame creates new pain and a new reason to seek relief, creating a cycle that can be really difficult to interrupt. Even if you don't cut, you've probably seen this cycle play out in your life. You've looked for ways to relieve emotional pain in your life, even some ways that you know hurt you or aren't good for you. And like some of those secretive things we turn to for relief from pain, cutting isn't just unhealthy or addictive. Cutting doesn't work. It doesn't actually solve what we want it to solve. Now, how do I know? Because many people who cut again. Why? Because the pain isn't relieved. It's just numbed for a little while. It comes back even stronger. People who cut don't have less stress, anxiety, or self-hatred because they cut. In fact, many of them admit that it actually makes things worse. So, is there anything we do or say to ourselves or a friend that will even help? Well, I wouldn't be up here talking about this if I didn't think that there was some hope. I'm convinced that God has a great big plan for your life and for your friends' lives, and that involves being free from self-harm. But getting there may look a little different than you think. Just to be clear, people who cut probably won't walk out today and never cut again. You won't be able to repeat some things I say to a friend and magically make them never want to cut again. Things like this don't just disappear because of a talk. But I do believe that you can leave today with an understanding of how to take one big, bold, powerful step toward freedom. And ironically, we're gonna get that powerful step from a guy who had almost no power at all. You've probably heard of the Apostle Paul. And even though he's now a famous and powerful voice in the Christian faith, he went through some terrible times. We're gonna take a look at something that he said in prison, where he had zero control over his life and future. Check this out. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Now, before you tune me out, I'm not saying when you feel like cutting, just think about something happy. It's not that easy. What I am saying is that a guy in prison who had no control over anything tells a group of people that they have the power to control their minds. Even in the most uncontrollable situation, we get to decide what our brains think about. And that's good, because the mind is a powerful thing. Think about it. Your mind ultimately controls your body. It tells you to stand up or sit down, and your legs just do it. Your mind tells you to go and eat, and you do. If you don't, it bugs you until your body goes to the kitchen and grabs a snack. But your mind also controls how you feel. If you think about something gross long enough, you'll eventually feel sick. Your stomach will respond to something in your mind. If you think about something sad long enough, you'll eventually feel sad, whether that thing happened in real life or not. Interestingly, when Paul wrote the word think in this passage, in the original language, it meant to take into account the facts. He's not saying to fake or pretend. He's saying don't miss what's actually true. Isn't it true that some of us have filled our minds with some powerful yet not true messages? Things like you're not good enough, you're worthless, you won't ever measure up, you're not smart enough, pretty enough, talented, funny, cool, or popular enough. We don't choose those thoughts on purpose, but left alone, our minds will naturally drift towards messages like this. Alone in our rooms with no one else to tell us otherwise, those messages repeat. They begin to sound true and logical, even though they aren't. When we allow ourselves to stay alone in hiding, the hurtful messages, they don't get quieter, they get louder. That's why, for everybody who struggles with self-harm, one of the most powerful things that you can do is to open up and be honest with another person. Other people can not only point out what's good, they can point out what's true. This is a tongue twister, but think of it this way. Hiding grows harm, but honesty helps heal. Your most powerful muscle is your mind. What you believe will ultimately decide what you do. And that's why the first step to freedom from self-harm is simply believing that it's possible. Simply allow your mind to consider that being free is possible. You may not feel it yet, but consider that it's possible. If you've been cutting, I want you to take a second in your mind right now and just say it with me. I believe it's possible to get out of this cycle. The next step, refuse to stay in hiding. It might be time to ask for help and to get real. Stop the cover up and step into honesty. I bet you'll be surprised by the support that you'll get. I'm not trying to make this sound easy or overly simplistic. To come out of hiding and challenge your repeat messages, you're gonna need to practice two things that are hard for every human on earth. One, vulnerability. Find someone you can trust. Get some time with them face to face and take the risk. Open up about what you've been doing. And two, authenticity. This means keep it real all the time, not just one time, the good and the bad. When you're doing great and when you're struggling, when you're being kind to yourself and when you're hurting yourself. You see, vulnerability and authenticity, they work because they're the opposite of darkness. Just like mold grows in dark, cold places, self-harm grows in isolation and self-hatred. If you move out of the darkness, however, and bring the honest you into the light, you begin to take away self-harm's power. And you'll find it possible to make space for the messages in your mind that can silence and replace the messages that are hurting you. Remember our short phrase, hiding grows harm, but honesty helps heal. You need somebody to be honest with, and your small group leader is a great place to start. He or she is trained to help you see what's true in any situation. They're there because they want to help, and nothing you can say or do will make them think differently of you. Also, consider getting honest with someone in your house. Someone who can take notice if you're struggling and they can just come sit with you. Someone you can talk with when life feels bad. Hopefully, over time, you'll discover that there are a lot of people out there who will not only show you love, grace, and acceptance, they'll actually help you find hope in an area that makes you feel so hopeless. If you have a friend who's self-harming, think about these steps as it relates to them. Be someone who can communicate the truth to your friends about who they are and can help lead them out of their spiraling thoughts. Be a person that they can be honest with, but also encourage them to find some adults to be honest with as well. Now, I don't know where this hits each of you. I hope it's helpful. Self-harm is really tough. If that's you, I hate that you're hurting inside. I do. But I believe with everything in me that you can move beyond it. If you're stuck in a cycle of self-harm, my guess is that you don't want to stay that way. So find a friend, step into the light. You'll be so glad that you did. Let tonight be the start of a process that leads you to more emotional health and to freedom. Take one step tonight, but don't stop there. Find someone who can continue taking the necessary steps after this to get to the freedom that you deserve. You're not alone. There are people around you who can help. And tonight is about step one, but it won't be the last step. When you're ready to move, we're ready to help. We love all of you. We care about you, and we believe that God has a great plan for your life.